Hello there, fellow photographer friend. Welcome back to the Shine and Thrive Photography Podcast. I'm your host, Sarah Monica. And if you are a wedding photographer or also just starting out and a wannabe wedding photographer that is looking to take your client experience and also how you storytell on wedding days to the next level, you're really going to want to tune into this episode. It has so much value for you. So, Cassie Cetlin is one of my students that has taken my intuitive storytelling program. Now, in this program, I teach you all of my secrets that I've gathered from my 11 years of experience of being a wedding photographer. I also include behind the scenes footage of me doing my thing from a full wedding day. So, get this, you actually get to virtually shadow me on a full day while seeing how I navigate different situations. On top of that, you're also going to be seeing my settings and how the photos that I'm taking are turning out in real time. And remember, this would not be possible when shadowing someone in person. So, this program is value packed, especially that you get to pause and rewind and virtually shadow me in that way. On top of all of that, I teach you how to also cultivate meaningful connections, not only with your couples, but also their family and friends on wedding days too, which is literally my secret sauce to how I'm able to get such close up photos with people letting go in front of me and showing such authentic emotion. Everything I teach you in the program is literally interconnected and intentionally crafted for you to deliver the most unforgettable experience to your wedding couples while also feeling free to do what you want as a photographer. So it's totally possible for you to make your clients happy and also you staying happy as an artist. So, in this episode, Cassie shares why she felt stuck as a photographer and how the intuitive storytelling course gave her clarity and the permission she needed to let go of the shoulds, and those shoulds being creating perfect Pinterest images. And it taught her how to document wedding days in a way that felt more aligned with her. She also shared her favorite aha moments from the course and how she put them into practice. And on top of that, the results she is now experiencing in her business while shooting weddings. So, this episode is value packed. I'm sure you're going to learn a ton. So, without further ado, please enjoy my chat with wedding and family photographer Cassie Cetlin. Cassie, welcome to the podcast. I'm so grateful you're here. I'm so excited to hear all about your experience and us to dive into everything that you learned in intuitive storytelling. And again, just so grateful for you taking the time to hang out with me and chat about this.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Thanks for having me. I've been enjoying your course so much. So really feeling great to be here.
Yay. And okay, just to get us started, let everybody know what kind of a photographer are you? Like, what do you love focusing on shooting? And also share a random fact or two about you, just to for us to get to know you a little bit better.
For sure. So I'm a Toronto-based wedding and family photographer. I started my business only in 2020, so I'm still learning every day. But I'm finding more and more that I know who my ideal client is. So that's really for couples and families who want to live in the moment and want their connection and their experiences documented. So nothing is really forced or fake with my work, because that's always the goal. And a random fact about me, I have a dog who is 6 years old. He's an Australian Shepherd named Hershey, and he's honestly like the smartest dog you'll ever meet. He can actually talk and sing, and he'll do crazy airbud tricks to catch frisbees and stuff. So he's really great.
Oh my gosh. Okay, what does he like? What does he say? Like when he speaks? Like I need to hear more.
So he'll come up to you when he has a complaint, and he'll go like, roar, 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 roar.
Oh. That's so funny. Oh my gosh. Actually, okay, I could totally relate because I think Abby can only say no. She could say no because sometimes if I go to like pet her at a time, she doesn't want to be touched. She'll be like, no, 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 no. And I'm like, oh my God, it sounds like she's saying no. It's so funny.
That's really cute. Yeah, my husband's even trained him to like, if he's playing guitar, he can get Hershey to howl along with him. So, like
Oh,
that there's a Vance Joy song where Vance Joy goes, ah, woo. Woo.
Oh
Anyways, she taught
yeah.
Hershey to do that part,
Oh
but like
my
howling.
gosh. That is
Yeah,
so cute. Oh, I love animals so much.
I know. They're the best.
And the name Hershey, okay, it's so funny because I've never had a sweet tooth until I became pregnant. And now all I want is like sweets and like cake. All that stuff is so funny. So now that you said Hershey, now I want chocolate. So thanks
Oh
for
no. Well,
that.
after this, we'll get you some chocolate.
Yeah, I'm gonna go get a spoonful of Nutella after this.
Right.
Oh man. Okay, so I would love to know. So what made you decide to even sign up for the intuitive storytelling program?
Yeah, so I think every year, whether it's for my photography career or for my regular job, I'm always trying to, at the beginning of every year, I don't do resolutions, but I kind of do a reading list or I make a list of things I want to learn. And so I knew I wanted to do a comprehensive photography course. I didn't know exactly what that looked like, but I think you started promoting intuitive storytelling on your podcast, that you were making it. And I thought, oh, that sounds really different from all the other photography courses. I've heard about, there's a lot on marketing, which I know you have too. There's quite a few on editing, but I'd never heard someone talk about a course specifically focused on documentary style shooting. And that really resonated with me because I think at the time I was going through this really uncomfortable phase of trying to make my work look really perfect, but feeling like when I showed up to weddings, I was best at documenting in a documentary style, and
Hmm.
just letting people be in the moment and documenting that way. And so when I heard you had a course on this, I was like, oh my gosh, I need to sign up for that, because I feel like I would have so much to learn. And then I think I got extra excited when you mentioned that you would actually basically show how you document an entire wedding day. I think that was like the hook for me, which is really funny because in the end, I think like that had a lot of learnings, but I think I learned more from your other chapters.
Oh, that's so cool. That's interesting to hear. And actually, so I want to make sure we don't miss this point because I love how you said that you felt kind of like a pressure to document wedding days perfectly, but you knew inside that you wanted to storytell more or like just document it in a less perfect but realistic way, if that makes sense. So, what, like, let me know what had you feeling like stuck there and not sure how to like get out of that idea that you had to document wedding days perfectly only, like picture perfectly, Pinterest perfect, right?
Yeah, I think it stems from, when you look at wedding photography on blogs or Instagram, and you only really dig in at a surface level. You don't go through blogs. You don't analyze people's work in depth. You just see kind of the top photos. You see the perfect flat lay of like the shoes and the flowers, and the invitation. And then you see like the couple in like absolutely perfect light, posed perfectly, with like perfectly relaxed faces. And and then you look at people's Instagram feeds and you're like, oh, I want mine to look cohesive like that and perfect. And I think that's probably where that pressure stemmed from. And then I also think just that internal pressure as a creative person too. You always want to keep perfecting, and you see every flaw in your work. You're like, oh, the composition is not perfect, the lighting wasn't perfect, I didn't edit perfectly. Those things just like eat at you when you're creative, I think.
Yeah. And I love that you touched on that because I went through that exact journey. Like as you know, because you went through like those lessons where I talk about how I hit that wall where because everything that I was seeing in the industry was like only flat lays, only portraits of couples, no in between random moments or like even guys not in suits, like maybe like all I was seeing was that. And then I felt pressure that in order for me to be successful as a wedding photographer, that's the only way that I can kind of create. And so for me, it took like, it was kind of scary because I didn't really see anyone else doing it. But only once I had the example of Tyler Workin, right, actually shooting weddings in a documentary way, even though his style to me didn't speak, it wasn't like my favorite. The way his work was more like darker and black and white, and that didn't speak to me. But what spoke to me was that hey, there are actually couples that want that and that are hiring him for the storytelling style. I'm like, if he could do it, then I could do it. And I figured out a way to fuse like the way I wanted to edit plus the way I wanted to shoot together. And so I think it's a totally natural way for us to like look around, see what's happening, especially when we're starting our photography business, be like, oh, okay, people are doing it this way, this way. That means that that's kind of industry standard. So, of course, it's going to feel so hard to like go against the grain because you obviously want to be successful as a photographer. So, I'm so like, I'm grateful that you shared that because I think a lot of photographers feel that pressure. And with you sharing that, it just makes them feel less alone, and now they're going to know kind of like what's more possible for them. So with that said, after you diving into the course and going through it, I would love to hear like what were some of your favorite takeaways or aha moments from the course.
For sure. There's so many. I think we're on one of them right now, so I'll dive into that. I think the biggest thing when you're going to be a documentary style shooter is figuring out how to articulate your approach and articulate the value that you're bringing, because you're going to encounter couples who want picture perfect, and they're not your ideal client, and you're going to find your people. And so it's really important that you change your marketing materials to articulate what you bring to the table, and what your strengths are. So I think what really helped me was in chapter 2, you talked about walking the walk and creating expectations for your clients. And so that means updating your social, updating your website, making sure your pricing guide has documentary style photos. So people who are in the moment and not too many perfectly posed photos. So I've updated my pricing package to really, really have like mostly in the moment photos. At the front of my pricing package, I even have like a little film strip that shows kind of a small story within a wedding day,
Ooh,
like less than
that's
10
cute.
frames, but it's like an emotional moment of a bride and groom seeing each other for the first time and then getting together at the end of the aisle. And I'm like, okay, like my ideal clients are people who want a story like that. And like it's not perfectly composed in every shot, but you can really feel the emotion. I think I haven't finished pulling this through everywhere. I think I have to let go a little bit on my Instagram, have things look a little less perfect and a little more candid.
Mm-hmm.
But it's obviously a work in progress all the time. And then I also really liked the expectations you set for the couple when you talk to them, but also the guests. So having the spiel, you kind of say to guests like, hey, just so you know, I'm shooting in a documentary style all day so that I can get authentic moments. Like, don't pay attention to my camera. I'm trying to get flattering candids, and training guests by putting down your camera when they look up and
Yeah.
smile at you. I think that, I'd always tried to do that at weddings, but it's so nice when you have words to back it up. And there's like a confident, nice way to say like, hey, don't look at the camera. I just want you guys to be in the moment.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I love all those takeaways. Yeah, it's so true because at times it's kind of like you know what you want, you know what result you want, and you want people not paying attention to you when you're documenting a wedding day, right? But sometimes I find that we go into our head overthinking, how do I even get that result? How do I get for it? What about just straight up communicating it in like in a confident way? It's just like yeah, so I love that you had that takeaway. And have you been able to put that into practice yet?
Yes, I have. I think I started your course in the middle of my wedding season, so
Okay,
I was
yeah.
able to put that into practice. And then I think articulating value, especially as people look to book 2022 to 2023, I've had a lot of conversations with couples where I'm able to say like, hey, I'm going to come do your getting ready shots, but like it's not going to be perfect. I want you guys to be like having drinks or whatever you want to be doing. And when couples are stressed about not making it to their cocktail hour, I'm like, you guys are definitely going to make it. I'm like
Yes.
100%. I've never had a couple not make it to their cocktail hour because I'm like, no, it's important to me that I document you guys actually enjoying your own cocktail hour.
I love that. And actually, have you found a different energy and response with the couples that are inquiring and booking with you as soon as you updated your pricing PDF, your website images with like those more in between moment images? Have you found like a difference in your interactions?
100%. I think a lot of the inquiries I get now, obviously, people give different details in terms of responses, but the people who do write a thorough inquiry are like, I don't want tons of post photos. Like, we're really awkward. We just want a lot of candids. I'm like, that's perfect. You guys are
Mhm.
my ideal clients.
Yeah.
My people. You just want to have fun on your big day.
Yeah, that's awesome. And actually so curious because I know what it's like to go through that, you're trying to like bust through that limiting belief in your business that I have to show only perfect images for people to take me seriously and hire me as a photographer, right? So I
Mhm.
love that you're in action and you've updated your price guide, but you're updating your website, right? And
Yes.
now you said straight up and honestly, you're like, I still am a work in progress and I need to learn how to have more confidence to just like show more candid work on Instagram, right? So what do you think is stopping you there? Because I mean, I still experience it to this day where because I consistently see only like the most epic couples photos, like portraits of like on mountains or like detail photos, I still feel that pressure to post only that because I'm like, well, if I post that, I'll get more likes because statistically, that's what people like the most, right? And I have to still force myself to be like, but no, if I post an in between moment and I get maybe 80 likes versus 400, I know that those 80 likes are going to be from people that are wanting exactly what I'm offering and not just random people. So I constantly have to still like think that way. So what do you feel like is like stopping you from fully committing and like diving into showing more of those candid moments on your Instagram?
It's totally that. It's the likes. I hate that you like as artists we attach so much work to likes because it's so silly.
Right?
Um, it's the likes, and then it's also comparisonitis. It's this idea of like if the last three photos in my grid are not beautiful, like what if they see another photographer and their last three photos on their grid are so pretty? Like it's that, and it's a mixture of like unhealthy competitiveness and needing that validation and in likes, which is not good.
No, I love that. But I love how, yeah. So, okay, what if we do this? So, I love that you even brought those thoughts to the surface because you're like, what if a couple doesn't like those top three images? They compare to the other photographer, then they book them, right? That's the fear, that's the thought. So now let's just switch the quality of the question and let's ask instead, what if the photos that I post are exactly in line with what the couple is looking for and they end up booking me? Because both scenarios are just as likely. It just depends on who stumbles upon your content, right? So at least just to because that helps me all the time. It's like asking yourself a question like if I have that fear pop up, I'm like, okay, but wait, Sarah, who are you posting for? Are you posting for the couples that want the Pinterest perfect images, or are you posting for the couples that will stumble upon your Instagram and be like, oh my God, look at these moments. Like that, this is my photographer, right? And I'm like, I'm posting for those couples. So Sarah, get your shit together, stop going down fear land and post for your freaking ideal clients. And that's what always gets me through that. So, in case you need a little like boost of inspiration for that, it'll be a fun little challenge for you to just do that today, right?
Yes, I will make a post today or tomorrow with, and it will be candid. That's my challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's funny. I've actually started recently unfollowing a lot of photographers. I think when you start out, you follow, and then eventually you're like, wait, this person is not going to inspire me in any way. It's not that they don't bring value, but I'm like, I don't need them cluttering my thoughts with me comparing myself to them. Like I'm just gonna unfollow them. Uh,
Yes.
I think that's helped a lot too.
I love that you're doing that too. I'm actually in the middle of working through unfollowing everybody that I'm following to zero, bringing my list down to zero. So I'm going to start fresh. And you know how usually you go to Instagram and you remember the people that inspire you the most, they bring you the most value, you actually search them out instead of, right? So I'm going to start fresh and start there because I'm like, holy shit, I'm following 4,600 accounts and I feel drained when I go on Instagram. I'm like, wait a second, I'm the one in the driver's seat in my life. Like, I can
Yeah.
actually make Instagram a very positive thing for myself if I choose to. Except the only thing is, like, I went in, actually, I assigned my virtual assistant to log in for me and unfollow everyone because I'm like, I have better things to do with my time. But she ended up like something ended up happening where Instagram thought my account was hacked, so she couldn't log in again.
Oh
And
no.
I'm like, okay, well then I'll just do this myself. I just want to get through this. I want to have this like clean slate. And then I was like unfollowing all these accounts, and then it like stopped and it said, you're not allowed to use bots that where you follow and unfollow accounts in for like your own gain or something. I don't even know what it said. So now my Instagram account is kind of like in lock for a week. So I can't really do anything with it. So I'm like, oh no, how am I going to unfollow another 3,500 accounts just to minimize and start fresh? So I'm going to have to figure that out. But
Your
um,
fingers were too fast. It probably,
that's yeah, because I was
yeah, you
trying to be
need to be
efficient.
slower.
Yeah, that's probably what it is. Yeah. And yeah, so I'm gonna make that happen. I heard another entrepreneur friend that did that and she just felt so like clean and inspired. So I love that you're doing that. And it's such a great idea. Anytime you like feel like an account that is on your feed is like just like sucking the life out of you, just like consciously make that decision, unfollow, and you'll get a lot more value out of Instagram. So I love that you're doing that.
Definitely.
I love our tangents. Okay, so I would love to know because so now when we're recording this, it's January 2022. And so you started the intuitive storytelling course kind of like halfway through last wedding season, right? So
Mhm.
now I want to know, how do you feel going into the 2022 wedding season with all the knowledge that you've accumulated versus going into last year's wedding season?
I feel a lot more confident because I feel like, especially halfway through the wedding season, my style found its groove a lot more. I think the course was part of it, but also practice and building confidence. So, and I also feel like now I have a body of work that really shows off what my style is, so that couples walk in and they know what they're going to get. To a certain degree, they're not going to be surprised, which I think is really really important. But the other thing is, I feel like I have so much work to do. I wanted to focus off season on perfecting my workflows, updating my questionnaires, updating my pricing and wedding guide, and all the materials. So that's a work in progress as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, I know how you feel there. And so, but do you feel like you have more clarity on exactly how to update your questionnaires and your workflows, like moving forward through it?
Definitely. I really love that part of your course where you walk through in detail the wedding questionnaire and the engagement session questionnaire, or the get to know you questionnaire that you give to couples. I think because I have a background in a lot of client facing work and bartending, I kind of lead on the fact of like, oh, I'll just get to know the couple on the day of. It's super easy. I can make small talk. It's fine. Um, but I think having that base is so important. And especially with your wedding questionnaire, I think making sure they add in all the names of the important people and the relationships, I think was so, so important. Um, I just think about how special in your wedding walkthrough video where you actually shoot the day, um, how special it must have made the couple feel when at cocktail hour you knew exactly who were her university friends and you knew them by name, and you made sure she got a photo with them at cocktail hour. If my wedding photographer had done that, not that my wedding photographer didn't make me feel super special, he did, but it would have been like so next level, like, oh my gosh, how did they even think of that, how did they even know that? I think that really takes it above and beyond. And I also really, really love the little caveat you put in the family shot list, that, a lot 3 minutes per family shot, because I think about, sometimes I get lists of like 40 to 50 different family shot combinations. And in my mind, I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this because maybe it is really important to them. But I bet they just most of the time start a humongous laundry list. And most of those photos don't end up getting printed or looked at. And so I'd rather do a really, really good job and actually spend 2 to 3 minutes on 15 family portraits than 50. So I think it's nice to make them think of that. And if it is a list of 50, that's fine. If that's meaningful to them, then I'm happy to do it. But I love that
Yeah.
little gem.
Yeah, it helps to like paint the picture that like, oh, wait, it's gonna take up time on our wedding day. And like which family photos, it's like taking a minimalist approach. Like which family photos do we really, really want and we will really value? And which ones are we just trying to like please other people and we really won't care about them, right? So yeah, even though it doesn't take me 3 minutes per family photo, but we're just putting that in there because you need to give cushion time, right? To give it time and space for things to unfold and there not be stress. Like I remember once I was doing family photos, and at one point, someone's baby, it was an outdoor wedding, so it was super chill. The baby was in a diaper, and the baby just started like kind of like crawling and walking in front of the family photos. And instead of me like being like, no, get the baby out of the way, like we're rushing, like we, like I like because I have cushion time in the timeline. I embraced that moment, and we had such amazing photos come out of that because they're all pointing and laughing. The baby was doing something funny. So it ended up being like an in-between moment, right? That wasn't expected. So yeah, I love that you've also, taken that into account and are going to make sure to put it in your questionnaires, your workflow, and all of that. Um, oh my gosh, I would love to know even anything else that comes to mind that you have put into practice last season, that gave you results that you wouldn't have done normally on a wedding day.
So the questionnaire for sure. I haven't done it in full, but I've already done a little bit of that, and I've talked to my couples about the amount of time it takes for family portraits. So the couples I have, for example, with weddings in April. So I think that's already been really effective. One thing that I was able to implement on the fly was your name memorization technique last season. I had such a bad mind for names before. Like, oh my gosh, sometimes I would blank out on the couple's names during an engagement session if I had just learned them recently, which is so bad. But it honestly helped me so much. It came into full force. I do family photography as well, so I did a bunch of holiday mini sessions, and so I probably saw 20 to 30 people a day, and I was able to remember, I would say 90% of the names because you had that little technique that it helped so much. I don't know why I hadn't thought of it before.
That's
Associating them with
amazing.
someone you already knew, or like a place you already knew, or an object you already know. So helpful.
Yeah. And didn't you feel so much more connected to your clients with just being so confident in remembering their name?
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
Because when I used to not use that technique, I used to forget names too. And by the way, for those of you listening, if you're like, I'm just bad with names, that is just like a belief that you've programmed yourself based on past experiences where you couldn't remember names. It's not an actual fact. Like you can actually train yourself to easily remember names. When I used to not use this technique, I would be like, oh, okay, and I would forget the name in my head. So I would just play it off, be like, okay, now you can move over this way. And like, but it would really take away that connection because, man, people love hearing their names and it cultivates so much trust. It cultivates them feeling special, so much. And it also creates connection. It makes them feel like you really know them for some reason. I mean, I don't know about you, like when someone is like, "Oh, hey, Cassie," aren't you like, "Oh, yeah, yeah, they know me." Like, I feel good about around them. Like, it's such
Yeah.
a interesting thing. So, yeah, I love that you put that into practice, and that is incredible. Like, for you to even remember that many names in one day for mini sessions, like that's amazing.
I also think about like for parents of the couple on their wedding day, it feels so condescending to say to the mother of the bride, like, oh, move over here, or
Yeah.
Sarah, can you get your mom to move over here? Like, I hate that. And
Mhm.
odds are the parents have either, financially contributed or at least helped with the wedding in a really big way.
Or
Um,
they're their parents. They like
yeah,
freaking like gave them life and have done like they're such a big part of their lives. Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
Yeah. And so you were able to remember parents' names too?
Yes, parents' names. Towards the end of my wedding season, I was using your tip to get all the parents' names down in advance. So that was really, really helpful. Had a couple moms follow me on Instagram, and I was like,
Oh,
yeah, like this is good. This is a measure of success, I think.
that's so awesome. Love hearing that.
Yeah.
Um, and also, okay, I would love to know also because I remember you telling me that the editing part, there's like a lesson on how I edit images to make sure that the eye goes straight to the emotion instead of anywhere else distracting. So did that kind of help you have some realizations in improving how you edit photos as well?
Yes, definitely. So I think, I don't think I'm a Lightroom expert by any means or an editing expert by any means, but I feel pretty familiar and pretty comfortable with all the tools at least. I don't think I could like design my own preset from scratch or anything like that. Um,
Same though.
yeah, it's really hard. People are like, oh,
Yeah.
just make your own. I'm like, what? Like, I kind
Yeah.
of have my own, but yeah. Um, but yeah, I think again back to the beginning of our chat where we talk about making the picture perfect. You're thinking about, oh, the lighting and like the certain glow, but I had never heard the tools talked about in a way that ladder up to highlighting the moment, if that makes sense. So the way you use the brush tools and the gradient tools and the exposure tools it's always focused on the face and the moment, rather than like the overall picture, like the composition or making sure there's no clutter in the background. Like, oh my gosh, the number of hours I've spent like heel tooling and photoshopping clutter out of backgrounds, or like photoshopping a vent out of someone's
Yeah.
ceiling. How silly. Um, but but instead, like you don't really look at that. You're more focused on, can you actually, does your eye go straight to the moment rather than to the dress or to the snow or whatever it is on the side. So
Yeah.
I think that was super helpful as well.
That's awesome. Did you find that that would eliminate your anxiety on and overthinking on a wedding day of the scenery not being clean or perfect, especially like during the getting ready part of the day, right? Like, because I find that if I can just document the day as it is and be like, this is the story, this is how it's meant to unfold, um, and then after that in post really make sure that the eye goes straight to the emotion, because that means that if we do that, then the vent in the corner doesn't matter because we edit it in a way that the eye goes straight to the emotion. It's like you can just freely document on a wedding day. You don't have to stress about bad lighting, you don't have to stress about all those other little distractions. And another thing that I love, and tell me if you now think the same way, is I remember whenever I look back at old photos and memories of myself when I was younger, I I don't care what's in the background. I don't care that the lighting was off technically, quote unquote, right? It's always how I felt in the moment and who's in the photo with me, right? So whenever I'm documenting wedding days, I'm like, in 20 years, they're not going to care that there's a water bottle in the back of this photo. They're going to care that they're literally holding each other in tears, right? So have you had that perspective shift where you're more confident to quote unquote imperfectly document wedding days?
Definitely. And sometimes I think the clutter is almost part of the story.
Yeah.
Like when you see a bride who was getting ready at an Airbnb and there's like all her makeup is like all over the place and like socks are everywhere. I'm like, that's part of the story. Like you were in a rush. Like you want to remember how chaotic it felt one
Mm.
day and how messy it felt. Or I think I went to one wedding this year and the groom had his nephew at the place he was getting ready. And so there were like toys everywhere. I'm like, oh, that's so cool in the background. Now you'll remember your nephew was there on your day and he was playing. And they even asked me, they're like, oh, do you want me to clean that up? I'm like, no, like it's fine. It's part of your story. So
Oh, I love that. That's so true. And that's what creates the charm in the photos. It makes the photos like have a whole new life of their own that you've never even seen before. Because otherwise, I don't know about you, but when I see all these like perfect photos on Instagram, don't they almost all blend in together? And you kind of don't even know what photographer shot them because it's all
yeah,
kind of like the same stuff over and over. But like, yeah, it's those like different parts of the day where you like expand your perspective, you take a wider shot, that adds the character of that couple's story. So I love that you're thinking that way, and that you even said to someone, you're like, no, 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 that's part of the day. Because
Yeah, don't clean up.
yeah, because then they feel more relaxed, right? And then that ends up probably that having them enjoy the day more, being more present because they're not worried about how things are ending up in photos. It's like they get to be like, oh, okay, she got this. I'll just chill, right? So that's amazing to hear.
And I've never
Um,
had a complaint of someone who's like, oh, can you Photoshop that water bottle out of the background? Never.
yeah, same. And it literally in my, I mean, I'm trying to think, but in the past like 3 years, the only um client that comes to mind is actually a client from last year, 2021. One of my clients just had 5 photos that she wanted a little bit of that kind of work, but it's like out of like the last 3-4 years, no one else comes to mind. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's totally possible. um okay, so I would also love to know, because I know that there's definitely a photographer listening to this right now where they really do want to learn how to document weddings more authentically, but they're still like scared to really like take that plunge and like commit to learning, and they're on the fence about signing up for intuitive storytelling. What would you say to them if that's what they really wanted but felt a little unsure or scared?
I would say I like my biggest regret is not even a regret of my own, but it's like I wish this had been available earlier. Because I would tell them if I had seen Sarah walking through and shooting a wedding, I would have been so much less nervous going into a wedding. So if you're a photographer starting out, like unless you're lucky enough to have someone that you're able to go to a wedding and shadow, um, this is like totally invaluable, not only to see how you approach it, how close you get to people, how you interact with guests, how you interact with the couple, but also to see all of your camera settings throughout the day. Like that's like a crazy learning curve when you deal with so many different lighting situations too when you're starting out. So even if you're not interested in documentary style, that's such a big piece of photographing a wedding. So I would say, outside of perfecting your workflows and making things efficient for yourself and setting expectations with your clients, if you're starting out and you just want to know how to do it, that's invaluable in my mind.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Cassie, for sharing everything and your journey. And I cannot wait to see and hear about your 2022 season and how it unfolds and how much more you grow. So yeah, I'm so grateful for you sharing everything you shared today. And is there anything else that's on your mind, on your heart that you would want to share?
No, I just wanted to say thank you. I can really tell there was so much thought put into this course. And sometimes when I go through it, I'm like, oh my gosh, Sarah's giving away all her secrets. Like, she shouldn't do that. So, no, just a big, big thank you for making this course and putting so much of yourself into it. I hope a lot of people are listening to it or watching it and that they're getting as much out of it as I am.
Aw, thank you. I appreciate that. And thank you for trusting me, because it's yeah, I don't take it lightly for you to take the time to trust me to invest in all of that, because your time is so valuable. Yeah, for trusting me to take you on that journey and teach you. So thank you. And tell everybody where you can find them, or no, tell everybody where they can find you and where they can connect with you.
Yes, you can find me at cassiecetlinphotography.com or on Instagram, Cassie Cetlin Photography. And both my first name and last name are spelled with a C. So I know it sounds like an S, but it's Cetlin for my last name.
Perfect. Awesome. Yeah, I always have to say Sarah Monica. Sarah no H, Monica with a K. So
Yeah.
it's good that
I
you
wish
say
it was
that.
simpler.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Cassie.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Lovely speaking to you.
All right. So that was my chat with Cassie. And if you were getting a nudge within you that this course is exactly what you need right now to take your client experience and your photography to the next level, then I invite you to sign up for the intuitive storytelling course right now. You just have to go to sarahmonica.com/storytelling to unlock all the lessons. And Sarah Monica is spelled Sarah no H, Monica with a K. So sarahmonica.com/storytelling. And guess what? As soon as you sign up, you have instant access to all the lessons right away. and you get lifetime access. So you can go at it at your own pace. You can rewatch lessons. You can implement things at your own pace as well. And remember, you don't know what you don't know. And as soon as you sign up and open up your mind to what is possible for you, that is how you get to fast track not only your couples having the most unforgettable experience with you, but also the demand for your work. Since I promise all of this knowledge put into action will lead to loads of referrals coming your way from all of your ideal clients. So don't wait any longer. Get started now. Go to sarahmonica.com/storytelling. And I cannot wait to hear from you all the results that you start getting once you start implementing everything you learn. I'll see you in there. Yay! Thank you so much for hanging out with me and tuning into this episode. If you got value out of it, please feel free to message me on Instagram at Sarah Monica Photo. That's Sarah no H, Monica with a K photo, to let me know. I get so freaking energized hearing from others that what I've said has had a positive impact on their lives. Also, make sure to hit subscribe to the Shine and Thrive podcast to never miss an episode. I'm so grateful for you, and I'm sending you all the productive vibes your way so you have the best week ever.